Our next speakers are an incredible team. A team of husband and wife that fights against the darkness of SRA together. They met in 2006 and married in 2010. In 2014, he finally confided in his wife that he had been sexually abused as a child, but did not start to speak about satanic ritual abuse until 2021. They both still individually battle against the darkness that tries to silence them, but they never give up their fight. Please give a very warm welcome to the brave survivor of satanic ritual abuse, David Wakefield, and his incredible wife, Carol Wakefield.
It's a wonderful thing you're doing here, and let's speak for the children and the survivors. I'm SRA. I was born into it. I was born in 1964, and it went on pretty much my whole working life. I eventually broke free in 2014. They last accessed me in 2012 when I was 48 years old. That's the hold they'd had on me all my life. So in 2014 I broke free, and we've been working since then. And the last 3 years I've noticed that quite a few of the survivors, their testimonies happening in the last 3 years. And I believe it was the whole COVID thing which has brought it on. What brought it on for me was masks, seeing everybody in masks, and it just brought us so much trauma, and I just couldn't cope anymore. So I had to say to Carol, that's it, I've got to tell you what happened. And we've been working solidly on it, and we're getting through it. But anyhow, I was born in 1964 in a small village in Kent, in the southeast of England, and I was born into a satanic ritual cult group. So a small group. And right from my birth, I was being traumatised, tortured, and anything you can imagine. Even my birth was traumatic, because I was held in my mother's birth canal and I actually died. So I was actually born dead, and then they brought me back to life. And I found out later that the reason they did that, because they didn't want me born in the image of God. They wanted me dead so they could put the image of Lucifer into me. And that was a belief I had. So even that. And some of the other guys say they were raped at a very young age. I wasn't physically raped till I was 3 years old. I went through tremendous trauma and training and various things up to the age of 3 years. Then at 3 years, I had to do a big ritual with them where I was actually given to Lucifer, and the first time I was sexually raped. And sorry. Yes, I was handed to Lucifer. And at that same time, I was also handed to the Freemasons. And my whole life changed from that day. The Freemasons basically took control of me, and I was, through ritual abuse thing, I was also trafficked. And they were controlling me and trafficking me. From the age of 4, I was being trafficked all to different areas of the country, a lot of the time to London. I was taken to the Masonic Lodge in Holborn, London. I think you all know it. And a lot of things happened there. I was also taken to various big houses around London, around the country, Westminster. A lot of things happened in Westminster. There's a tunnel system under Westminster Abbey, which things were done. And I was trafficked to politicians, royalty, famous dignitaries, celebrities, and also foreign dignitaries. when you're being trafficked, the children are a currency. Because everything involved with these people, these satanic people, is money. Their God is money, which is run by Lucifer. And they use you to make money. I was being trafficked to make money. I mean, and so yeah, that was part of my life, well, whole part of my life. Being trafficked, ritual abuses. Then as I got older, I mean at 5 years old, I was a complete mind-controlled, compliant sex slave toy to them. I didn't know any different. That was my life. Then as I grew older and older, they started training me more and more, and at 9 years old, I was taken to the Tavistock Institute, and I went under some severe mind control there by a programmer whose name was Jonathan. And they were basically mind controlling me, so I would have a photographic memory, and they were using that photographic memory for me to transfer information. Because you got to think, all the stuff they're transferring and speaking to each other about, you can't use a fax machine. So this is back in the 70s. You can't use a fax machine because there's always a paper trail. So they use people like me, who are completely mind-controlled, to go out and give their information to different people. And I've been, I've been trafficked around Europe, for sexually and for also doing the information transfer. I've been to Germany, Belgium, Holland, Vatican, Russia, USA, all these different countries, either being trafficked sexually or information transfer. And then the other thing, there's also at the age of 9, this is something which Jeanette wanted me to talk about. At the age of 9, I was also taken to a big house on the Kent-Sussex border, and it's actually got full diplomatic immunity, this house, and there's a big underground system of cellars where a lot of ritual abuse goes on. But one of the things they were doing there was the super soldier training, and I went through the full super soldier training, and it went on till I was about 16. I mean, I've got, most of it was obviously done by Russians, so it's on Russian weapons. I mean, I'm fluent with AK-47s, AK-52s, PS7 handguns. I'm also knife trained. I'm explosive trained. I've got survival, full survival training. And so that's carried out. And I believe that every survivor, somewhere or another, has had this soldier training. But they put it behind such amnesia, you're very difficult to remember it or know anything about it until that time comes when they're going to trigger you. And then it will come out for whatever job you've been trained to do. And this is all part of the New World Order.
Yes.
Because satanic ritual abuse, because you think it's children, it's just sex, raping, rituals. But when you think about it, when the child gets to a certain age and they're no use for that, why are we still left to live? Because you would think they would just kill you, because you're no use to them anymore. But they've trained us to be super soldiers, to bring in the New World Order.
Yes.
Because they can't rely on the conventional armies. They're unreliable, because they've not been mind controlled from birth. So they can't, they can, if they're given orders, they've got a conscience. So they're not necessarily going to carry that order out. I mean, if they're told to go and kill their families, they're not going to do it. But a mind-controlled slave like me has no conscience.
Bless you, David.
We just do what we're told. And that's what they're pushing. I mean, I'm in the information transfer side of it. I knew at 12 years old that I was going to be an international truck driver. And you think, well, why? What's the use of that? But that's what I became. And I was used for transferring information because the truck driver's pretty much anonymous. We travel through borders, nobody checks us. We go to various cities, nobody checks us. It's a perfect way to transfer information. I used to smuggle, and I even trafficked, people. And that was my job. And they had hold me on that job pretty much my whole working life. But yeah, I mean, also, as I grew older and I started to become unreliable, and on several occasions they tried to kill me. On the first time they tried to kill me, I was transferring stuff down to Rome for them, to the Vatican, and something went wrong and it got all messed up. And then when I came back, they set an accident for me, and I ended up in intensive care for 6 days. And while I was in intensive care, I was spoken to, and it was God. God said to me, "You've got to change your life." And I did change my life, because up to that point I'd even had an arranged satanic marriage. So I was married to a satanic girl who had a handler. I mean, she was a survivor as well, and she had a handler, and my life wasn't changed. I mean, my life was a mess, really. And after that, I came out and I filed for divorce, and that really upset them, because they tried to kill me again, and I survived that. So, I'm a survivor. And, I mean, even later on in my life, they set off, I was getting unreliable again, and they set off a suicide program in me. And I was in Poland, and I drove my truck at 60 miles an hour into the parked truck on the side of the road. Just drove it, didn't even brake, drove it into the back of this truck at 60 miles an hour, because they had set off this suicide program. And even the people who cut me out, and later on when I was in hospital, they would say, there's no way you could have physically survived that.
You're here for a reason.
But I did. And there's one person who's looked after me all this time. And now I'm here to talk about it, because we've got to protect the children. No one deserves going through this sort of torture, training and stuff. And I just like to, this is, because when you're in this mind-controlled information stuff, you're often in meetings, you're there when people are talking, and you pick up all this stuff. I mean, I've only just sort of last 3 years sort of bringing out all these memories through the healing, and it sort of like floods through all this stuff, and you think, oh, what's all that about? But a lot of the things you used to pick up, I mean, a child will be in the meeting, because obviously at some point that child's going to be given to someone in that meeting, but they don't realise you're picking up all this information and storing it in the back of your mind. So these are some of the things which I've known, their agenda, the one world agenda, because I knew it was the one world back then, not the new world order, but the one world agenda. There's going to be one ruler, one infiltrator, one army, the enforcers. one media system.
Medical.
Sorry, one
It's
medical.
my writing. He can't read my writing.
One medical system. There's going to be a system where only one child is allowed in a family. The children are going to be owned by the state. You know, it's going to be a manageable hybrid human race. And it's things like this. One religion. You can see that they're pushing all this stuff in now. I mean, you can tally up with what the organisations, who's running what, but they're pushing that now. So I think we're getting to the point where they're going to be triggering survivors.
Definitely.
To bring in this new world order. And I think survivors really need to concentrate on breaking their soldier parts down, because they're going to be triggered and they're going to be brought in. I mean, you're probably thinking, well, look at you, you're 59 years old, what use are you going to be? But when they bring in this new world order, when they trigger us, you're going to be the age of which that part has been trained. So I'll be feeling and acting like a 16-year-old to carry out this army part. And that's what they're planning on. And there's the other things which I don't know whether people are aware of, the 5 I wills. I mean, I've been through 3 of them. 5 I wills are carried out at the age of 13, 26, 39, 52, and 65. And basically, it's a 6 or 7 day ritual where they do a lot of reprogramming of the survivor, and then you have to go through a huge ritual afterwards, which people do get killed. And I've done 3 of those. I haven't done the 52. I was supposed to, because in 2012 I was accessed and they put in a program that I was supposed to break my marriage by 2014. And it didn't work, because in 2014 I actually woke up and saw there's something seriously wrong. We've been working on it ever since. So, but Carol here, I mean, she's been to hell and back through me, and she's got her own story about how she's dealt with it. Because not many spouses, wives, girlfriends, husbands, whoever they are, actually talk out about what it's like to be related to the survivor. So I'd like to just pass you over to Carol so she can
take that microphone. Okay. Right. Well, Jeanette introduced us, so yeah, we met in 2006. I knew nothing about David's SRA or sexual abuse. And then that 2012 to 2014 era, obviously at that point I didn't know he had been accessed, because I didn't know anything about it and he didn't know anything about it. And it was 2 years of hell. And he was programmed to end our marriage to the point where I would never return back to him. But anyway, cut a long story short, we got to June 2020. We've just had the lockdown. Everything's just opened up again. They're making masks to be mandatory. And unbeknown to me, David was having because of the mask wearing, he was having regular flashbacks and daily, constantly, several times a day, and I didn't know, you know. And then one day he came to me and he said, I have to be more open and honest with you. He said, because if I don't, he'd planned his whole suicide. He even told me how he was going to do it, that he was going to write a letter to me, and he said, so I've got 2 choices. I either start discussing this or I'm going to commit suicide. And that from that day, I made it my mission to find therapists for a therapist for him. And for the first time, he was able to talk about what really happened for him. And nothing ever was a shock to her, because she's been through the same thing. And I also made it my mission to research and study DID and SRA. And we discovered the cult had created 106 identities in David. We have the names for 106 identities. We have the purposes of all those 106 identities.
Thank you, David and Carol Wakefield. So much courage being demonstrated up here today, guys. Thank you very much. And that is why I stand here today, that fierceness that I feel towards the protection of satanic ritual abuse survivors. And that is my commitment to letting their voices be heard worldwide. That's the least we can do. That is what the world owes us. That is what we deserve. These voices need to be heard. That's one half of the driving force for me behind this conference. The other half is my unbreakable dedication to end the horrific suffering of all the babies and the children that are still enduring these ongoing atrocities and crimes against humanity. This hasn't stopped. It's still going on. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I put myself on the front line. And that's why I keep going. Because until every single child and baby on this planet is safe, we must not stop. We must go on. So may I introduce our next survivor.